Here's part 3. 1 month after the procedures, the first signs of trouble appeared. Grace Chen developed a high fever that human medications could not reduce. Her skin took on a faint bluish tint. Medical scans showed unusual activity in her nervous system. The Lumari doctors insisted this was normal. A temporary adjustment as the embryo established connection with her body. Ellen was not convinced. She reviewed the medical data personally. The changes in Grace's physiology went beyond what had been described in the agreement. She brought her concerns to Director Wilson. Something isn't right, Ellen explained, showing comparison scans. The embryo seems to be altering Grace's cellular structure. This goes beyond surrogacy. Director Wilson studied the images, her expression darkening. Get me Ambassador Foster immediately. A meeting was hastily arranged with the Lumari representatives. Ellen wore the translation device, preparing to confront them about the discrepancies. The lead Lumari arrived with 2 others. Their demeanor remained calm, unhurried. Ambassador Foster spoke directly. One of our volunteers shows concerning physiological changes. This appears to contradict your assurances about the safety of the procedure. Ellen transmitted these words, feeling the Lumari's response form in her mind. These changes were anticipated. The surrogate's body must adapt slightly to support our young. The process is temporary, reversible. Ellen conveyed this answer, then added her own question. Why wasn't this adaptation mentioned before the procedure? The Lumari's large eyes fixed on Ellen. The translation came through clearly. Some details were omitted to avoid unnecessary concern. The changes pose no danger. Director Wilson stepped forward. We require complete transparency according to our agreement. What other details have you omitted? A pause. Ellen sensed hesitation before the Lumari's next thoughts formed. The connection between surrogate and embryo is more substantial than initially described. A partial neural link forms, allowing the embryo to develop proper brain functions. This link influences the surrogate temporarily, influences how Ellen pressed. The surrogate may experience unusual dreams, thoughts not her own, memories from our genetic history. Again, this is temporary. Ambassador Foster's voice hardened. This violates our agreement. We demand immediate removal of all embryos until a full review can be conducted. The Lumari made a gesture Ellen had not seen before. Something dismissive. The translation came through with unmistakable coldness. Removal is not possible without harming both embryo and surrogate. The process must continue to completion. The humans exchanged alarmed looks. This contradicted earlier assurances that the process could be safely terminated if necessary. Ellen felt a growing sense of betrayal. Had the Lumari deliberately misled them? Ambassador Foster maintained her composure. We insist on consulting with our own medical experts to verify this claim. The Lumari agreed, but Ellen noticed they showed no concern. Almost as if they knew what the human doctors would find. The medical examination confirmed the Lumari's statement. The embryos had established complex connections to the women's nervous systems. Attempting removal might cause permanent damage to both hosts and embryos. The 5 volunteers now faced 3 more months of increasingly invasive physical changes. Ellen visited Grace in the medical facility. The geneticist lay in bed, monitors tracking her vital signs. The bluish tint had spread across her skin. Her eyes had darkened, taking on a violet hue similar to the Lumari. How do you feel? Ellen asked, sitting beside her. Grace smiled weakly. Strange. I have dreams. Memories that aren't mine. I see a world with 2 moons. Crystal cities. I feel what they felt. The fear as their population declined. The desperation. Did they tell you this would happen? Grace shook her head. No, but I'm not afraid, Ellen. This connection, it's fascinating. I'm learning so much about them. Ellen felt troubled by Grace's acceptance. Are you still yourself? A pause. Mostly. There's something else inside me now. Not just the embryo. Knowledge. Purpose. She touched her abdomen. They need us more than they admitted. Their species is down to the last 1,000 individuals. They've tried 17 other worlds before Earth, failed each time. How do you know this? The memories, Grace replied. They flow through the connection. I don't think they can control what information transfers. This revelation prompted Ellen to speak with the other surrogates. Each reported similar experiences. Shared memories. Knowledge of Lumari history and culture, flowing unbidden into their minds. All showed physical changes. The blue skin tone, The darkening eyes. Changes in body temperature and blood chemistry. Whitney Davis, the physicist, seemed least troubled by the developments. "They're dying, Ellen," she explained. "Their genetic diversity is nearly gone. These embryos represent their last hope." "But they weren't honest with us," Ellen countered. Whitney shrugged. "Would we have agreed if they had revealed everything?" Sometimes deception serves a greater good. Survival. Ellen brought these conversations to Director Wilson and Ambassador Foster. Both were deeply concerned by the surrogates' changing attitudes. Their loyalties seemed to be shifting, their priorities aligning more with Lumari interests than human ones. "Cognitive influence," Ambassador Foster said grimly. "The neural connection is affecting their thinking. We should separate them from each other," suggested Director Wilson. "Limit their contact with the Lumari. Monitor their communications." Ellen disagreed. "They haven't done anything wrong. They're victims here." "Are they?" asked Director Wilson. "Or are they becoming something else entirely?" The situation deteriorated further in the second month. The physical changes accelerated. The surrogates now looked noticeably different. Their limbs elongated, their facial features subtly shifted. Medical tests showed alterations at the genetic level. The Lumari embryos weren't simply growing inside the women. They were transforming them. World governments demanded answers. The Lumari provided technical explanations that human scientists couldn't fully comprehend. They insisted the changes would reverse after the embryos were removed. But their credibility had been damaged. Trust between species was fracturing. Ellen continued visiting the surrogates, trying to gauge their mental state. Marie Dubois, the French biochemist, seemed most resistant to the influence. Her eyes remained more human than the others. Her thinking clearer. They needed hosts, not just surrogates, Marie told Ellen in a hushed voice. "The embryos are changing us permanently, creating hybrids that can survive on both worlds." "Is that what the others believe?" Ellen asked. Marie nodded. "They've accepted it, embraced it even. The Lumari consciousness is strong. It pulls at my mind too. I fight it, but the others have surrendered. Why are you different?" Marie smiled sadly. "Perhaps because I have children on Earth, 2 daughters. They anchor me to my humanity." Ellen reported this conversation to Director Wilson, who ordered increased security around the facility. The 4 surrogates who had embraced the changes now requested direct communication with the Lumari ship. They spoke of unity and shared purpose. They referred to themselves as bridges between species. Marie alone maintained her human perspective. She provided valuable insights into what was happening. The embryos were not merely developing. They were assimilating their hosts. The process would ultimately create beings that were physically hybrid, but mentally aligned with Lumari consciousness. The Lumari had not come seeking surrogates. They had come seeking bodies to colonize. As the 3rd month began, Earth's leaders faced an impossible decision. The transformed surrogates could not be separated from the embryos they carried without killing both. Yet allowing the process to continue meant allowing 5 humans to be permanently altered, perhaps lost entirely as individuals. The Lumari ship remained in orbit. More vessels had arrived, joining the first. 7 massive ships now hovered above Earth, their purpose unclear, their weapons capabilities unknown. Ellen sought a private meeting with the lead Lumari. Without Director Wilson's knowledge, she traveled to the ship wearing the translation device. The alien received her in a chamber filled with strange equipment and glowing displays. "You deceived us," Ellen stated simply. "You knew the embryos would transform the hosts." The Lumari regarded her with those large violet eyes. The translation came through with unmistakable pride. "We seek survival by any means necessary. Your species would do the same facing extinction." The women did not consent to permanent alteration, Ellen countered. "To losing their humanity, they will become more than human. The first of a new line, a bridge between worlds. Their sacrifice ensures Lumari survival." Ellen felt cold anger rising within her. "And the additional ships? What is their purpose?" The Lumari made that dismissive gesture again. The translation revealed the terrible truth. "More surrogates will be needed, many more. The first 5 proved the process works. Now we begin full implementation. This is invasion," Ellen said. "Not cooperation." The Lumari's response came without hesitation. "Call it what you wish. Your planet sustains life. Ours does not. We will not face extinction when a solution exists. The transformed humans will help others understand." Resistance is unnecessary, harmful. The joining of species benefits both in time. Ellen removed the translation device. She had heard enough. The Lumari had never intended fair exchange. Earth faced colonization through biological means, a quiet invasion from within. Ellen sat in the crowded meeting room as government officials argued around her. 3 days had passed since first contact with the Lumari. The alien vessel remained hovering above Pine Ridge while Earth's leaders debated their response. Representatives from various countries had arrived to join the discussion. The stakes felt impossibly high. "This is clearly a trap," said General Nancy Ford, pounding her fist on the table. "They want to use our women as breeding vessels. Then what? An invasion of hybrid soldiers? We don't know that," countered Dr. Helen Murray from the World Health Organization. The Lumari communication mentioned temporary surrogacy, not permanent changes to human biology. Director Wilson stood at the head of the table, her face grim. "Regardless of their intentions, we cannot allow aliens to experiment on human beings. The risks are unacceptable." Ellen listened silently. She had worn the translation device only briefly, but something about the Lumari felt sincere. Their desperation seemed genuine. Still, the request was extraordinary, frightening even. Dr. Wright General Ford turned her attention to Ellen. "You've had the most direct communication with these beings. What is your assessment of their intentions?" All eyes turned to Ellen. She chose her words carefully. "I believe they truly face extinction. The images they shared showed a dying civilization. Their need appears genuine. As for their trustworthiness," she hesitated. "That I cannot judge with certainty." Director Wilson frowned. "The translation device. Did you sense any coercion? Any attempt to control your thoughts?" Ellen shook her head. "No. It facilitated communication only. I maintained my own thoughts and will." A voice spoke from the doorway. "Perhaps I can offer a different perspective." The group turned to see a woman enter, tall with dark skin and confident bearing. She wore the uniform of the United Nations Diplomatic Corps. Director Wilson nodded in recognition. "Ambassador Diane Foster, welcome to our discussion." Ambassador Foster moved to an empty chair. "I've reviewed all reports of the encounter. The Lumari present both opportunity and risk. Their technology alone could advance humanity by centuries, but their request requires careful consideration." "What do you suggest?" asked Dr. Murray. "We negotiate," replied the ambassador. "Set clear terms. Limited trial with strict oversight. Volunteer basis only. And most importantly, we demand proof of their technology first." General Ford scoffed. "You want to allow this?" "I want us to approach this logically," Ambassador Foster replied. "If the Lumari truly need our help and can offer beneficial technology in return, we should consider cooperation. But with extensive safeguards." Ellen found herself nodding in agreement. This aligned with her own thoughts. The Lumari seemed desperate but not malevolent. Perhaps an arrangement could benefit both species. The discussion continued for hours. Eventually, they reached a tentative agreement. A small delegation would return to the Lumari with conditions for cooperation. Ellen would again serve as translator. The next morning, Ellen stood before the alien ship with Ambassador Foster, Director Wilson, and a team of scientists and security personnel. The Lumari emerged as before, 3 of them with the lead figure stepping forward. Ellen placed the translation device on her head, feeling the now familiar warmth as it activated. Ambassador Foster spoke clearly, and Ellen concentrated on conveying her words accurately through the device. "We have considered your request. We propose limited cooperation under specific conditions. First, we require demonstration of your medical technology. Second, any human participation must be entirely voluntary. Third, all procedures must be overseen by our scientists with full transparency. Fourth, all surrogates must remain on Earth under our protection. Fifth, a small number of trial surrogacies, only perhaps 5 before further evaluation." The lead Lumari listened, then responded. Ellen heard the words through the device and spoke them aloud for the others. "Your terms are acceptable with one modification. The surrogates must come aboard our vessel for the initial procedure. Your scientists may accompany them. Afterward, they may remain on Earth as you wish." Ambassador Foster conferred quickly with Director Wilson. "Why must the procedure occur on your ship?" The Lumari answered through Ellen. "Our medical technology cannot be easily moved. The environment must be precisely controlled. Contamination risks exist for both species." After further discussion, Ambassador Foster agreed to this modification, provided human medical staff remained present throughout. The Lumari would first demonstrate their technology by treating several human patients with conditions deemed incurable by Earth medicine. If successful, volunteer surrogates would be sought. 2 weeks passed. The Lumari provided medical devices that cured advanced cancer in 3 patients, restored sight to a blind child, healed severe radiation damage in a nuclear plant worker. Earth scientists could not fully understand the technology, but its effectiveness was undeniable. Nations worldwide argued about the surrogacy program. Religious leaders denounced it as unnatural. Human rights organizations expressed concerns about exploitation. Scientists debated potential biological consequences. But in the end, 5 women volunteered. All were scientists themselves. All understood the risks. All believed in the importance of helping another species survive. Ellen was not among them. Her role remained that of translator and observer. The day arrived for the first procedures. The 5 volunteers gathered at the command center. Their families had come to see them off despite the controversy. Carol Martinez, a biologist from Mexico, embraced her husband one last time. "We'll be gone 3 days at most," she assured him. "The Lumari have proven their medical capabilities. There's no reason to fear." Beside her stood Grace Chen, a geneticist from Singapore. Her parents watched with worried expressions but said nothing to dissuade her. They understood their daughter's commitment to science and compassion. The other 3 volunteers, Whitney Davis, Sophia Patel, and Marie Dubois, stood together speaking quietly. All brilliant women in their fields, all childless by choice or circumstance, all willing to help an alien species survive while advancing human knowledge. Ambassador Foster addressed them formally. "You represent humanity at its finest. Your courage and compassion will not be forgotten. Remember your training. Follow protocols. Report anything unusual immediately." Ellen led them toward the alien vessel, feeling a strange mix of anxiety and hope. The Lumari had prepared a medical chamber according to human specifications. Earth doctors would monitor every aspect of the procedure. The agreement specified that the embryos would be removed after 3 months long before viability. The Lumari merely needed human bodies to nurture their young through a critical developmental stage. The interior of the alien ship gleamed with metallic surfaces that seemed almost alive. Lights pulsed along corridors in rhythmic patterns. The air felt different somehow, richer with oxygen perhaps. The Lumari led them to a circular chamber where 5 reclining platforms awaited. Human doctors inspected the equipment, checking it against previously approved designs. They placed monitoring devices on each volunteer. Ellen translated questions and answers between the medical teams. Everything proceeded according to plan. The lead Lumari approached Ellen while the preparations continued. Through the translation device, it communicated privately. "Your species shows great compassion. Not all would help another race survive." Ellen nodded. "We hope this leads to friendship between our peoples, a lasting alliance." The Lumari made a gesture that Ellen had come to recognize as affirmation. "The 5 who carry our future will be honored forever in our history. Their names will be taught to all Lumari children yet to come." The procedure began. Each volunteer reclined on a platform. Lumari medical specialists operated devices that created glowing fields around the women's abdomens. No incisions. No invasive instruments. Just light and energy directed with precise control. Ellen watched from nearby, translating the technical communication between the 2 medical teams. The process took less than an hour. When it concluded, the Lumari confirmed that each woman now carried a tiny embryo. Not quite human. Not quite Lumari. Something new. The volunteers would return to Earth for monitoring. In 3 months, they would come back to the ship for extraction of the developing embryos, which would then be transferred to artificial gestation chambers aboard the Lumari vessel. As they prepared to depart, Ellen noticed something odd. The lead Lumari was watching the women with an expression she had not seen before. Something that looked almost like triumph rather than gratitude. A chill ran through her, though she could not say exactly why. Back on Earth, the women were taken to a special medical facility for observation. Everything appeared normal. Their vital signs remained stable. Scans showed the tiny embryos developing as expected. The Lumari visited daily, bringing gifts of knowledge, star charts, mathematical principles, biochemical formulas. Earth scientists worked frantically to understand and apply this new information. Yet Ellen could not shake her sense of unease. Something about the Lumari's behavior had changed. They seemed more confident, less desperate. Had their need been exaggerated? Or was something else happening that humans did not yet understand? Among those watching was Ellen Wright. She worked as a scientist at the local research facility. Her specialty was communication systems. For years she had helped develop technology to send messages into deep space. Now it seemed something had answered. The government arrived by morning. Military vehicles rolled through town. Soldiers established a perimeter around the landing site. Men in dark suits knocked on doors asking questions. They reached Ellen's house just after sunrise. "We need your expertise," Dr. Wright said, the tall woman who introduced herself as Agent Olivia Parker. "Your background makes you uniquely qualified to assist with first contact protocols." Ellen nodded slowly. She had prepared for this possibility, though she never truly believed it would happen. She packed a small bag and followed Agent Parker to a black vehicle waiting outside. The command center had been established in an old warehouse at the edge of town. Inside, computers and communication equipment filled the space. Screens displayed images of the alien craft from various angles. Scientists and military personnel moved with urgent purpose. Agent Parker led Ellen to a central table where several people were gathered. At the head stood a stern-faced woman with short gray hair. "This is Director Mary Wilson," Agent Parker explained. "She's leading this operation." Director Wilson acknowledged Ellen with a quick nod. "Dr. Wright, we've attempted standard greeting protocols with no response. The vessel remains sealed. No detectable communications. We need fresh ideas." Ellen studied the images on the nearest screen. The ship's design defied conventional aerodynamics. Its surface showed no obvious entry points, no windows or hatches. It simply existed as a perfect oval of unknown material. "Have you tried non-standard frequencies?" Ellen asked. "Something beyond our normal communication spectrum?" Director Wilson gestured to a young technician. "Carla, show Dr. Wright what we've tried." Carla Hall guided Ellen to her workstation. "We've sent signals across all known frequencies," she explained. "Radio waves, microwaves, even light-based patterns. Nothing has prompted a response." Ellen considered this information. An advanced civilization might use communication methods humans hadn't discovered yet. Or perhaps they communicated through means humans couldn't perceive. "What about pattern recognition?" Ellen suggested. "Simple mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the universal language." "Worth trying," Director Wilson agreed. Ellen worked with Carla, programming a sequence of prime numbers into a transmitter. They sent the signal directly at the ship using multiple frequency bands simultaneously. Minutes passed with no response. Then an hour. The command center grew quiet with disappointment. Just as they prepared to try something new, a strange humming filled the air. The monitors flickered. A perfect circle appeared on the side of the alien vessel. It wasn't there before, confirmed one of the surveillance operators. Director Wilson barked orders. "All personnel maintain positions. Security teams stand ready but do not appear threatening." The circular section of hull dissolved, revealing an opening. Light spilled out bright enough that the cameras automatically adjusted their exposure. A ramp extended downward, touching the ground with gentle precision. Ellen held her breath along with everyone else in the room. From the opening emerged a figure, tall and slender, with proportions similar to a human but clearly not human. Its skin shimmered with a bluish tint. Large eyes dominated a narrow face. No visible nose but a small mouth. It wore something like a bodysuit that seemed to flow rather than simply cover its form. Behind this first visitor came two more similar in appearance. They stood at the base of the ramp, surveying their surroundings. Their movements were fluid, almost graceful. Director Wilson turned to Ellen. They responded. "To your signal, Dr. Wright. You're coming with the welcome team." Ellen felt her heart race as she joined Director Wilson, Agent Parker, and two military officers in a vehicle. They drove the short distance to the landing site. A small table had been set up midway between the perimeter and the alien ship. A gesture of neutrality. A meeting ground. As they approached, Ellen noticed something about the aliens. Though their bodies appeared similar, their skin patterns varied. The one in front had swirling markings along its arms and neck. The others had different patterns. Identification, perhaps, or indication of status. Director Wilson stopped several feet from the table, Ellen beside her. The lead alien approached from the other side. Its large eyes blinked slowly. Up close, Ellen could see they had no visible pupils, just solid orbs of deep violet. Director Wilson spoke clearly. "We welcome you to Earth. We come in peace and friendship." The alien tilted its head as if listening. Then it raised a six-fingered hand toward Ellen. A soft melodic sound came from its mouth. Not words exactly, but something musical. Ellen felt drawn to respond. Slowly, she raised her own hand, mirroring the gesture. The alien stepped forward and gently touched fingertips to hers. A tingling sensation traveled up Ellen's arm. Then strange thoughts filled her mind. Not in English, but somehow understandable. Images and concepts rather than words she understood. They called themselves the Lumari. They had traveled far. They sought something. Something important. Ellen gasped, pulling her hand away. Director Wilson steadied her. What happened? They communicate through touch. Ellen explained, her voice shaking. They showed me they're called the Lumari. They've come from somewhere far away. They're looking for something. Try again, Director Wilson urged. Ask what they want. Ellen turned back to the alien and carefully extended her hand. The Lumari touched her again. Ellen focused her thoughts. Why have you come here? What do you seek? Images flooded her mind. A world dying. Resources depleted. A desperate journey across stars. Then something surprising. Images of human women. Many women. Different ages and appearances. Ellen broke contact again, confused and concerned. They showed me their world is dying, she told Director Wilson. They've come looking for... She hesitated, uncertain how to interpret what she'd seen. Women. They showed me images of women. Director Wilson frowned. Women for what purpose? Ellen shook her head. I don't know. The communication isn't exact. More like impressions. The lead Lumari made a gesture and the two others returned to the ship. Moments later, they emerged carrying a small container. They brought it to the table and opened it. Inside was a device unlike anything Ellen had seen. It resembled a crown made of flowing metal with small lights embedded throughout. The Lumari lifted it and held it toward Ellen. She understood they wanted her to wear it. A better way to communicate, perhaps. Director Wilson stepped forward. Absolutely not. We don't know what that might do, but Ellen felt certain this was important. I think it's a translation device, she said. They want to speak clearly with us. It's too risky, Agent Parker argued. Ellen took a deep breath. If we want to understand why they're here, we need to communicate properly. I'm willing to try. Before Director Wilson could object further, Ellen took the device and carefully placed it on her head. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a warm sensation spread across her scalp. The device adjusted itself, becoming snug but comfortable. The Lumari spoke again. This time Ellen heard words in her mind clear as if spoken in perfect English. We seek salvation, the alien's voice explained. Our females can no longer bear young. Our species faces extinction. We have searched many worlds. Earth holds the key. Human females possess genetic compatibility. We need your help. Ellen relayed this to Director Wilson, whose expression grew more concerned. What kind of help exactly, she asked Ellen to transmit. The Lumari responded through the device. We require willing human females to carry Lumari embryos. A joining of species. Temporary surrogate mothers. No harm will come to them. They will be returned. In exchange, we offer knowledge. Technology beyond human understanding. Cures for diseases. Ways to heal your planet. As Ellen shared this, Director Wilson's face hardened. Take that thing off now, she ordered Ellen. We're returning to base. Ellen hesitated. They're offering to share technology. To help us. We don't know if anything they say is true, Director Wilson countered. This could be a trick. An invasion strategy. Remove the device, Dr. Wright. That's an order. Reluctantly, Ellen lifted the crown from her head. The Lumari watched this exchange with unblinking eyes. Even without the translation device, Ellen sensed disappointment. Director Wilson addressed the aliens directly. We will consider your request. We must consult with our leaders. Please remain here. We will return with an answer. The lead Lumari inclined its head in what appeared to be understanding. Ellen and the others backed away, returning to their vehicle. As they drove back to the command center, Ellen couldn't shake the feeling that humanity now faced the most important decision in its history. The Lumari needed human help to survive, but could they be trusted? And who would decide the fate of two species? Here's part 2.